Well, hey, Hannah.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
It's going great. We've been having some good conversations, haven't we?
We really have. I feel like each one of these conversations has helped me to learn so much. And, I just think that they're going to be so informative to the community to find out all the things happening. I mean, people who have lived here forever probably don't realize just how much is going on in the city.
Yeah. And I feel like we're getting slightly better at the podcasting thing.
Yeah, I hope so.
It takes a little bit, right?
It does. It really does. It does.
Asking the right questions and just trying to learn to be comfortable.
I know. Trying to figure out how not to interrupt when you get excited about something. That's me. I'm like, oh, and.
I know. Yeah.
But I think that, the episode today is just fantastic. We got to talk with Jakki and Corvin Davis, dynamic husband and wife duo who are the founders and now directors of D-Up. Yeah,
they're the best.
Yeah. You've known them for quite a while now, right?
Well, yeah, shortly after I moved here and started working at the university, Patrick Harmon introduced us. He had just, I think, brought Jakki and Corvin over to Washington Street to really get D-Up kind of growing there. And the connection was that they wanted to be engaged with HPU students.
Yeah.
So we got them connected to the Bonner program that started providing like first-gen college students coming in to be mentors in their space. And for those college students, for them, it was like going home.
Yeah.
And it was not long before Jakki and Corvin were showing up at graduations because these kids, had been there for 4 years and they'd watched them develop, and then, they're still connected. They're like mom and dad to everybody.
Yeah.
And then we had our Vistas, so like the recent college grads that came back to serve a year, they would start serving. And they've had Vistas come back and serve on their board and be deeply engaged with the program years and years later. So it's one of the things I love about Jakki and Corvin is like in everything they do, they're building family. Like they're mentoring people, they're bringing them into their network. And once you're in, you're in. And they do it with the kids. They do it with the college students. And I think it's deeply part of their mission and who they are.
Absolutely.
So I guess that tees you up. We really ought to say exactly what their mission is. So as we go into this, people can be thinking how all these stories connect to their purpose.
Yeah. Well, they have the acronym D-Up, which is Develop Skills, Uprise Education, and Power Up for Life. But that is so broad to all the things that they do, this really wraparound service that they now have for their families they serve. So their mission is to provide comprehensive wraparound services for children, adults, and families by promoting health, education, and life readiness, with the ultimate goal of maximizing individual life experiences and increasing the economic self-sufficiency of families. So a lot of things they're covering.
I know, but what I love about it is I can hear Jakki saying that.
Absolutely.
I can just hear her, this is what we're about.
Yeah.
And I think you all will hear it too in this conversation.
Absolutely. Let's take a listen. Well, good morning. I am so excited to have both of you on High Points Voices Discovered for an episode to talk about D-Up. We are just thrilled that you guys decided to join us this morning, and we're excited to learn more. So, we'd love to get started by each of you introducing yourselves and telling us a little bit about your organization.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Jakki Davis, and I am the co-founder with my handsome husband, Corvin, and I am the executive director of D-Up.
And I am Corvin Davis, and I am the operations director for D-Up.
So we're both excited to be here. D-Up is really a dream of Corvin's, and we started it in 2007. Of course, it was a for-profit.
Yes.
I have learned how to work a nonprofit. It has taken years, but it's one of those things where you're flying the plane as you're building it. And so we're just excited about where we are now. But when we started, it was on a platform of basketball.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's Corvin's dream. And it was just based on his growing up and in the community and his family, and I can't tell that story.
I was say when
like Corvin
when you said it was Corvin's dream, he got a smile on his face. He's like, "Oh, I remember that dream." Tell us about the dream, Coach.
Yes, growing up in a place called Laurel Hill, North Carolina, near Fayetteville and Rockingham, North Carolina, Me and my friends, we were always doing different things, and we were always going to play basketball. And I said, I would like to have my own gym so I can train and teach these kids how to play basketball. And once I got to really learn the game and focus on it, I would take the guys up to the gym and I would train them and teach them. And sometimes it was funny because I would play like 1-on-5 and I would beat them. They'd be like, man, how you do that? I said, I guess it's just my skills. But one thing that really got me started about this gym is probably about when I was around 10, we had a tragic accident in my family where our house burned down and I lost my sister and my niece. Wow. And that's probably was one of the most trying times in my life. But my safe haven was always going to the basketball gym. Mm-hmm. Whenever I went through anything or had something that was bothering me, I always went to the gym. And that took a lot away from me. And, our family being displaced, it was kind of rough during those times, but I was excited about when we got back together and how life, even though during that time of tragedy, I had to make sure that I kept my focus on what I needed to do and to continue to keep our family together. So basketball was one of the big thing of mine. And I also was able to play football as well. So I had 2 scholarships. I had a scholarship in football and basketball. So I chose North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University to play basketball. So that's how D-Up got started.
Yep. We met, and when we met, in what, 87?
86.
We met in 87, 86, 87. Corvin shared that story with me. I'm a little jealous because who in the world knows at 10 what they want to be? Yeah. I mean, I've thrown so many noodles on the wall and they fall, and I try
Corvin
again.
knew.
But he knew what he wanted to do. And of course, life happened, having children, so it definitely was put on the back burner of, having a gymnasium because that costs a lot of money. And so when my job was displaced in 2007, we made a conscious decision that we're going to go for it. All through those years, Corvin was still a coach. Yeah. And so it was important for me, yes, if we're going to do this, if we're going to make basketball our platform, we have to add more to it. And so that was the character and ensuring that kids were able to live their lives healthy. Because when we were having our children, I experienced a lot of weight gain, and I was a cheerleader, growing up. And so not being able to handle the weight gain, I went into isolation. There was a lot of anxiety, low self-esteem. So I told him, if we do this, we have to have those, dynamics in it too. And so didn't have that gym, but we decided to take it on the road, and we purchased a trailer, but was able to get enough money. But we were for profit. We were not as embraced in Greensboro. I love Greensboro, but we were not as embraced as we are in High Point now, and even when we moved to High Point, because it was, a little business organization in Greensboro. And then when we came to High Point and we were able to, meet the families and share what we're doing and have a dream, then we had so many to do that with us. So now things have changed for us, where basketball was our platform. Yes. It gave us an opportunity to meet the families, to meet the youth, and we discovered that there's so much more that our kids need and our families need. And just as Corvin said, playing basketball gave him a safe haven, having that place. And so that's what D-Up has become, a safe haven for so many. And here I have to say thank you to Patrick Harmon with Hayden Harmon Foundation, because we didn't have a brick and mortar. I mean, we were, having that trailer going across the Triad everywhere, teaching basketball and, character development, but we had nowhere to go until Dr. Pamela Palmer from HPU. She was my classmate, high school classmate. Okay. And we just happened to meet her once we started the nonprofit in 2010. And again, I had no idea what I was doing. And I saw her at a restaurant in the parking lot, and we were catching up. And she told me that she was a professor at HBU. And I told her I have no idea, a clue about nonprofit. And that was what she was teaching. Yeah. And so that's how we connected. And that's how we got to High Point, when I thought, oh, we really got something here. Like, I need an office space.
Yes.
Well, when I first met you all, I think it was 2011. Yeah.
you're kind of working out of a church behind the Methodist Church,
Yep,
Christ
we
United
were.
Methodist.
Yes.
And we started partnering together when I was
That's
still at
right.
the
You
university.
were there.
Yes.
And you all were developing PNAC.
Yep, that's right.
Which
That's it.
was, let's see if I got them all. Physical activity, nutrition, academics, and character.
That's right.
Yes.
That was the core. Like, you were already expanding when
Right.
I was starting to get to know you all and
Exactly.
connecting you with our Bonner leaders at the university, with other students
Yes.
that were coming in to volunteer. And what was immediately clear was like, well, honestly, I was confused at the first because I was like,
sure.
there's this basketball trailer
Yes.
that's always out here. And yet every time I go in, it's like this full broad engagement around character development and like, it's like, what? It took me a little bit.
Yeah.
But what really engaged the HPU students, I think, was that breadth, that kind of wrapping your arms around the whole community.
Yes.
And I felt like that quickly became like your all's bread and butter was like community life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That it was about whole families and not
Yes.
just this one kid that's coming in, but their whole system that they
system.
were part
Yes,
of, the
yeah.
whole community they were part of.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. We even changed our name
Yeah.
because we were D-Up
Basketball
fundamentals and skills
skills
training. I'm like, okay. I mean, that was a mouthful in itself, but we changed it to D-Up. And, when we first started, it was develop skills, understand nutrition, and power up to fight obesity. So now we've changed it to develop skills, of course, because we take a holistic approach. So there are different
Yes.
skills.
A lot of different skills.
There are a lot
Yes.
of different skills, but uprise education, because that's important, and then power up for life. So that gives us an opportunity to include all of the wraparound services
Yeah.
that we offer.
So I'm curious because I actually didn't know that you were a for-profit originally. I thought it always was a nonprofit. What was that, what was the catalyst for the decision to go the nonprofit route instead of the for-profit route?
I remember fussing with Corvin and our accountant early on. I'm like, no, we are not doing a nonprofit, because in my mind, there was just this stigma, but that nonprofits are all bad. We can't do this. But for Corvin, he wanted to reach so many people, regardless if they had money to pay.
Yeah.
But I'm a business major, and making those dollars, like
You
that
need
bottom
that budget
line.
to work.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we can't do this. But I finally gave in, and that was the best decision that we ever made.
Yeah.
Corvin, she mentioned that you had that desire to reach people regardless of
Yes.
the means that they had. I mean, tell us a little bit about, what was that like for you, and, what were some of those ways that you saw basketball as actually, supporting someone regardless of if they could afford the, high dollar basketball camp or whatever.
Me growing up in a small city like Laurel Hill, my thing was the guys that I looked up to, they never charged me for anything. And I said, if I can give back, it's just like being a servant. If I can serve others and teach them the skills that I have, I said, there's a possibility that they can get a scholarship and go to school. Because when I looked at that, because I told my mom, I said, I'm gonna learn how to play this game, and you won't have to pay a dime for me to go to school. And that's something that I always live for. God said you walk by faith and not by sight. And that's what I always walked by. I would take chances and challenges on anything, because I was really good in baseball as well, but stuck with football and basketball. And basketball was the one that got me where I need to. And when I saw how good I was with this basketball, I said, man, these kids can come to me. They don't have to pay anything, because I never looked at money. I looked at how somebody taught me. And if I can do that, these kids will be excited. And that's how it was with community, helping other folks in the community, not charging them to do things. And that's how we grew up, because my mom was always say, go check on so-and-so, see if she's okay. And that's community.
Yeah.
And that's what I fell in love with in High Point, is that how the community is starting to come together and focus and realize how we're there to help each other and be service towards one another. So I loved it. And I always said, if you ain't got a dime, if you ain't got no money, you can still come, because it's not about money.
Well, you all
And
have
if
been
it's one
building.
person.
I mean, you all have been building community,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I just think of some of both the students from like HPU still come around.
Still
You
come
know, it's
around,
like
Joe.
Shannon
Yes.
Barr. Like,
Yes.
she's still on your board, isn't
Yeah,
she?
she's not on the board, but she is one of our, volunteers, supporters,
Yes.
anytime that we need her.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we
She's
were transitioning with boards, I called her like, Shannon, and she was, so excited. And for now, she was like, I want to support. I want to be there with the kids. I want to really be engaged. So
Yes.
we're excited. Shannon and Brittany. And then when you think about the graduations we've attended, the baby
weddings,
showers,
yes.
the weddings. And these are people that are still texting on my birthday, Coach's birthday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas. They don't forget us. And that's the same for us too. And so, and I tell them all, we have 3 daughters that we love, but now we have so many.
You got so many kiddos
yes.
out there.
And then the great thing is our daughters grew up with it, and they grew up meeting these wonderful people too.
Yeah.
So now they have a bigger family. So it's just great, the relationships that we've been able to create.
I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I feel like your organization has become so synonymous with the Washington Street neighborhood and the history there and the work that you all are doing to both preserve that history and carve this new pathway of the future. Because I remember the first time I ever met y'all was with Laura Green, and we
Yes.
were riding around when I was interning with the newspaper, and she was like, what is going on? And she had driven me by because she was telling me a story about the Kilby Hotel, because she was there the day it was demolished, and
Yes.
she took these photos for the Enterprise. And she was like, what's this? And we stopped and we met you guys, and you were doing a outdoor, I don't remember what it was, like a big block party.
That's the Let's Move in the Park.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
our very
Yes.
first event that we did
at
on
Washington Terrace Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't even met Patrick when I moved into his building, because HBU had an office
Yes,
for
right.
any of the nonprofits that worked, with HBU nonprofit development. And so Patrick actually gave us $3,000. We were so excited to receive that $3,000. That was our first grant.
First grant.
money.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
it was so exciting, but I had never met Patrick. Dr. Palmer just had me to write a proposal, and then we had learned to do that in graduate school. So I did, learn how to do that, and then she looked at it. But I just thought, how wonderful is that for someone who's never met me? We came from Greensboro to High Point on Washington Street, and then he's believing in us and have not met us. And so I remember one day we had already moved in, as I said, and because of the flexibility in the schedules, Patrick would come in, and I never seen him. So this one day I was in the office, and Patrick came in, introduced himself, and so did I. And then I love taking pictures. You can look at our Facebook and you always see pictures, because creating those memories are important.
You're good at capturing.
Yes.
Yeah. So Patrick looked at the pictures, and it was for a camp that we did at HBU. It was the Girl Power
Yes.
Healthy Living Boot Camp. So that was our first actually program. And so he looked at the pictures, and I said, thank you so much for sponsoring that. These are the pictures from the event that you gave us the funds. And so he was looking, he was like, okay, so you think you can create something for me, some kind of program to get kids out in the park?
So the brand new park.
That was
Yes.
a brand
They
new
just
park
built,
They
right?
with
just
the
built.
City had
city
just put that
that
park
they
in.
had put
Yep.
that there.
Yep.
And I said, yeah, I bet I can. Not really. He, of course, didn't know. I had already written 12 different programs when I was pregnant with our daughter Camille in 2008, because I was so sick. So I would take the other 2 girls to school, come back into bed, and then just dream and just write different programs. Did not realize where we were going to, utilize them.
Yeah.
And so that's all I had to do was go to that book, pull out that program, and that's where we had Let's Move in the Park. And that event gave us 2 hours of just being in the community. Based on whatever month it was, we'll come up with the festivities. Anybody was welcome to come. It wasn't like a program or anything. It was just open to the community. So that's when you and Laura came for that day. And Coach loves having his music. We love to cook. Every single program, activity, event that we do, we make sure that we cook. We make sure we have a snack. We make sure that there's a lunch or a dinner, because that's important to us. Corvin loves talking about his family. I think he mentioned, his mom cooking, and everybody on the block would come to their house. And that's really what we wanted, because we never want to make assumptions that people are going to eat when they leave.
Right.
So it gives us an opportunity to really, feed their tummies along with their souls and hearts when they're with us.
I mean, it speaks to your close relationship with growing High Point and the garden beds that you all have. And you walk Washington Street now and you all are slowly activating building after building because you're often in the hub. You've got the building you originally started in. You've got the Congdon Wellness Center, and you have some other plans. Tell us a little bit about what Washington Street and 2 years?
Yep.
What's Washington Street?
2. Oh my
3 years
goodness.
going to start looking like as you walk down the street?
Well, first you're going to see it when you're on Kivett Drive or MLK.
Yeah.
You will see this huge building, 2-story building. And it's the building that would be the gateway to Washington Street.
Right there on the corner of Washington Street, Centennial, and MLK.
Yes. And so that is our gym, STEM, and arts complex.
Okay.
And it's a 2-story building, and Coach will get to see, all of his dreams come bringing the community together because
finally going to get that court.
We're going to have that court.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we'll give a lot of opportunity for jobs, of course, for people.
Yes.
Also, we'll be able to open up, have different AAU tournaments. So you're not only talking about people that's in High Point, now you're talking about, other people coming into the city.
Yeah.
But I think about all of the ages that will be able to utilize this.
Right.
Because, years ago we did open up, make these wraparound services, not only for youth, but for adults. But now we're thinking about our seniors because we'll have a walking track upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Where
that's awesome.
we're on a bus line for those that, can make it. But then if you're in a community, you can walk and, the social skills that they'll get. We'll have personal trainers there, for them. And so it's just going to be that state-of-the-art socialization for everybody, all abilities. So we're really excited.
And you're going to have a little bit of storefront space,
Yes,
right?
we'll have enough for three retail storefront. We'll have a pantry that's larger than what we have now. And so I'm really excited about that. That'll also be on the main street too.
Yeah.
It gives us an opportunity to increase the what we do with STEM because that's important. We now partner with Shift Ed, and I can just see that maker space in addition to the robotics and still have our computer lab, but we can still bring our photo. We have a studio now on Washington Street for photography, so all of that will come in. And then now this is the one that got me when we were doing our rendering, is just imagine you're in New York somewhere and you look up and you see dancers, right?
Yes.
In the window. And so also facing Washington Street will be our dance class. And the windows are will be the same shape as the building that's currently there now. Because we wanted to make sure we kept, as much of that architecture that we could, still having the culture that's on the street so that we don't lose that. Because, just to give people hope, not forgetting the past, but remembering the past to build the future. And that's what we're using to let everybody know. It's restoring the hope of what used to be there.
Backing up just a little bit, because I don't think we did this in the beginning. If you could just kind of go through, like, what are the programs that you offer and the services that you offer now? Because I feel like y'all have such a breadth and a depth, and that's a really hard thing for a nonprofit to achieve.
That's true.
And so I'd love to hear y'all just kind of run through what those are. And then that'll kind of tie in nicely, I think, with how this building is actually going to make, tangible those things even more so in the community.
Well, as Joe indicated, we have the Congdon Wellness and Education Center, because since we started in 2000, we came to Washington Street in 2012, we recognized then that everybody needed a place for stuff to land.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so mental wellness was important, helping kids and families navigate life pretty much. So we wanted to make sure that we offered those opportunities, those coping, skills, those strategies that everyone could take, whether you're using it at home, you're using it at the center with us, you're out in the community. That was important to us. So with the Congdon Wellness and Education Center, we have mindfulness. We partner with Regenerations that come in with the kids once a week. So we have 4-year-olds that are doing yoga. They are doing mindfulness.
Yes.
They are, because, art is important. So they're doing different kind of art activities. And then we also do that for our older students. They're there too. But for our teenagers, we have an advocacy group. And so it gives them an opportunity to talk about social issues, things that's going on for them that normally, as adults, sometimes we don't listen to them. We don't give them an opportunity to share their perspectives, to do that. So they're amongst their peers and partnering with Mega Missions, with the Creative Writing Center. They all get together and they read a book, every week, and they're able to discuss the things that are going on, food insecurity, education, housing. So they have that space. And then we know that art is important with kids, having that opportunity to release, and then just the rhythm of the drumming and of dancing. So we have that to our arts collective. We also have women's wellness. Like last week, we took 8 women. We went to Charlotte, where had an opportunity to spend 4 hours just thinking about themselves, having self-care. And so we did a repilot of that in, I think it was the spring, and they went every other week, where they had different people to come in and help them. They did gardening, they did painting, just giving them the space to take care of themselves, because Hannah, women, we're going to take care of everybody else, but when it comes to us, it's last. So this was just an opportunity for them to say, okay, for 2 hours, it's going to be all about me. So we have, Joe mentioned the PNAC, the after school, the summer camp. That is ongoing. We have not had to advertise for PNAC since we started in 2014.
Y'all fill up.
How many students do you normally serve in your after-school programs on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so about 46 is what we have enrolled. We have plenty on the wait list, but then that wait list is because of transportation. We have 1 van currently, but we're able to, those that don't have a ride, we allow them to get home from school, and then we go pick them up, and then we take them home. And so that is, the space, even working out of 4 buildings, we can't accommodate more than that.
When you go on Washington Street in the after school, to see it activated, see these kids moving from space to space as they're going to different activities. And the transportation, I think, has been a big part of your all story. One, because you drive the bus.
Yeah, and I love it.
They
took it away from me, though. They took it away from me.
But for years, you drove the bus, and that was one way you connected with whole families and not just the kids.
Yes.
And I know that you talked a little bit about the Congdon Wellness Center and some of these programs, but I think about COVID and how it utterly shifted, not all society, but especially your program. You were very hands-on, kids in space. Suddenly these kids go home. They still need your resources.
Yes.
And so you all kept showing up.
Yes.
You just showed up differently.
Yeah, that's the one thing I can say that was dear to me. Even though COVID, I remember this. I was getting ready to go to the MAC basketball tournament in Norfolk, and I got a phone call from my buddy. He said, "Man, they canceling all these tournaments." I said, "What?" He said, "The whole country has shut down. It's called COVID." So Jakki was out of town at the beach with a girl trip, so I called her. I said, "What we gonna do?" She said, "Let's put our heads together and let's see what we can do." So we got together. We talked. We said, "We're not gonna shut down." We said, because we got to continue to take care of our children, our families, and our community, and the elders in the community. So our Tuesday was called Turn Up Tuesday. So we would play music, we would pack boxes, it's like 50, 60 boxes going to families. I mean, from computers to food to games. And that was one of the most great times for us at D-Up, not to close, but to pivot and continue to stay open, provide. You see like 10 cars going all the way across town, Greensboro, with food boxes and making sure our kids and our families and community continue to thrive during this time of COVID. Because people say, man, you've been out there in that COVID? I say, yes. I said, listen, I said, I'm not afraid. I said, I know what my mission was and I know what I had to do. Because I would be at the grocery stores and I'll be at every grocery store. People was like, man, you need to do it. No, I said, I do. I'm taking care of myself. I said, but I have a job to do. And I think that's what God really did. He really blessed D-Up to continue the mission that we were on, because we didn't look at what was going on. We saw the need. And I think the families were excited. And also with all the support we had from the other organizations and from the city. And then we still had the kids to come out and do stuff. And that was an exciting time for us during COVID. And we didn't let it stop us.
We didn't go far. We had some of our staff would go to their homes and they would practice to go far because we wanted to be a part of that race. We knew they were still going to have it. So our staff members would go to all of the different homes.
And we also, what was good too is we had the partnership we had with where people would do videos and kids were able to do exercise like the YWCA. And one of my buddies' son who played professional basketball, him and his wife did videos of basketball and drills and exercise. So the kids were actually able to do the exercises on their computer and see what was going on. That was so awesome.
And we donated computers.
Donated computers.
I was going to say, y'all are the ultimate basketball player because you foster such a good team environment in High Point. And you've mentioned so many, I mean, of these different players in High Point that you invite to be on the team and to play their part as well to better impact the community. And I think that's so admirable for a nonprofit to kind of have that mentality. And I'm curious, what are some of those greater impacts, some of those stories you've seen that have come from fostering that kind of culture in High Point?
When she said greater impact, that's what I was saying. Greater impact, it's time to D-Up.
Right?
That was just a coincidence then, just a happy accident.
But I will say, Hannah, for us we are grassroots nonprofit. I have no shame in saying I didn't know what I was doing. But what I did know is that I could reach out to people that had the expertise of things that we saw our families needed. You know, talking to our families, developing rapport to where they can be honest and genuine of what they needed. And then for us, developing those relationships with other people, all of their partners, to help us. And partnership is so important, but we are very selective in who we partner with because we want to make sure that they have that same culture, the same passion, and that it's a win-win for everybody. And so, and we have so many. I told Corvin, I said, we were trying to come up with who's going to remember all of them, lists. Should I have my paper there, to talk about?
You're like Carl Veerling and his map of
that's what we need.
Right?
We need to identify because
Carl,
there are
Food
so
Alliance
many.
is going to have to get a bigger page to fit all their partnerships in. I mean, you all are right there.
But partnership
right there
is so important with us. And, when we think about our HBU, our bonders and our vistas and the service learners and your fraternities, your sororities, all of the, communications, we have all of those people. And of course, we don't pay, for the service. Let's just say we can't even afford to pay them for what they do. I mean, really. And we don't look at it as free labor either. I mean, it's just creating those relationships.
They get so much out of it.
Yeah, and they do. But we've also hired our daughter because our daughters have grown up with it. Like I said, I was pregnant with Camille, our youngest. She's now 15. But Raylan, our oldest, she started out in the camps. Then she became a camp counselor. She went off to college, came back, with skills. Her major is sociology, psychology. She's working on her PhD in traumatology. We were able to hire her in April. So we now have 3. Well, she made our 3rd full-time, including us. And then Olderai, who is
Yeah.
also a Bonner
Yes.
student, is
Yep.
now full-time with us as our program coordinator.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it has given us an
Natalie.
opportunity to step back. Oh, yes, everyone knows about Natalie.
Natalie.
Oh, yeah, I have an
Oh, yeah.
assistant now.
Yeah.
But she was a Bonner student. She
Yes.
knows all about the
A
community.
Vista, yes.
But I've had an opportunity to kind of step back and look at the full picture
Yeah.
of our future and where we're going. And that's where I'm spending a lot of my time because I think we've spent the years creating a culture
Yeah.
that everybody that's working there now, they've been there. We don't have a turnover, so they all know what the expectations are for us and for the families. And so I'm with Peace being able to look at the big community view of
Yes.
where we're going. In addition to the complex, we're building a black box theater. So we're excited about that. And I think that will allow our families, those in our community, to look at, art
Yes.
a little differently where, we may not visit other people because we just don't really know, what it is, don't know that we like it. But now we'll have it in our community. We do shows, you come as a family, and now it opens up the doors for us to go other places to experience
Also
it.
fitting with the kind of arts history of
Oh,
Washington
most
Street.
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
John
I mean,
Coltrane.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I mean,
Right
you
there
just
at
think
Past
Congdon.
about
artists, yes.
the rich history of that street and High Point, and what the programs that you're doing are bringing kids into that history, are bringing that history back to life, making the
Yes.
street again producing our future. The future of our city is growing up on that street again.
Yeah.
And
Which is pretty powerful.
and to the great partnerships and the collaboration and all the donations and grants has been really vital to the community, and also with the economic development that's going on, and just to see these kids facing. What am I saying is this: before you can correct, you need to connect, and that's so important that we learn how to connect with our youth and kids before we correct. Because if you're trying to correct the kid and he don't know you, he gonna look at you like, "What you?" And the best thing about being in a nonprofit is the relationship. Those kids get dropped off, their parents don't have a care in the world, because we make sure that they're getting everything they need, and also that they come into a place that's safe. They can have fun, they can express themselves, and it's also we just got done with the High Point Fashion Week. So our kids, it was so awesome to see those kids, walking across the stage.
We had 5.
Having their attire on, and that's a self-esteem builder. And it was like they was like, "Oh, I know I got."
Like, I'm that chick,
yes,
been that
I'm
chick,
that
will be
chick. I'm-
that chick.
yeah.
That's
But
Yes.
I think that goes back to at the beginning when we were talking about community. I mean, there's so many healthy things that come out of community, from that self-confidence and self-trust,
Yes.
but also, I mean, I've been there. I know that those kids are making their best friends there. They're building those friendships that are going to last them forever, and they're building that with y'all as well, so that they always know that there's someone besides just family who's rooting for them and counting,
Yes.
on them. So I think that that's really special. Are there ways that the High Point community can get involved or support you guys if they resonate with that mission?
Yeah, well, you know what? There are so many opportunities too, because we do so much.
Yeah.
So where you may be interested in helping students with the arts, or you may be interested in coach, with basketball, because we do field hockey too, just for the legacy of Ali Zimbino, who was one of our great supporters and unfortunately passed years ago. But we're committed to her mom that we're going to keep her legacy alive. So you have field hockey, you have soccer. And so there's just a plethora of things that anyone in the community could do to be with us. Of course, donations.
I'm saying if they want to donate to
if
make
you want to
these
donate,
big dreams a reality.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're so excited
Yes.
about that to even ask, because our campaign is around $13 million.
Yeah.
But when I think
But
about
you've already
it,
done a good job.
We've already done a
raised
great
several
job.
million already.
And it's so good to have that confidence to be able to say that, because we believe and we always look at the glass half full, never empty.
And you have that
So-
you have that founding dream that you can look back on, though, that
Yes.
you've had your whole life. And I'm sure, that's one of those things that keeps you going, to be
Yes,
able
it
to say,
does.
this is what I've looked at.
It
What does that
does.
feel like to even see that that's in sight? It's something that you've known you wanted to do since you were a kid.
That court's coming.
It's
Listen,
coming.
I'm telling you, growing up in those days, and seeing some of the great players play on TV like Michael Jordan, Sam Russell. You look at the Busher, look at those guys, and I used to watch that, and I used to envy myself after Magic Johnson. I'm a Laker fan, a diehard Laker fan.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say this. I'm a Duke man. I know a lot of folks will be mad for the Carolina fans, but just to see where we have grown, and see from a young kid back in the early 70s, growing up and having a dream, to be able to see that dream come into fulfillment, and to see the faces of those kids and the community when we break ground and when we open that facility and see all the faces and all the noise that's going on in the gym. And I told my guys the other day, because I started basketball tryouts. I said, it's too quiet in the gym. When you come in, I got to hear some noise. But to see your dream and vision being fulfilled is so exciting.
Yeah.
Because I tell people, you can do the same thing if you believe.
Yeah, I mean, you're building that community, you're building that team, and I think paying it forward in so many ways through people's lives that are just being transformed by D-Up. So it's been a real privilege
This has
getting
been
to talk
wonderful.
with you all.
Wow. That was a great conversation. What's exciting is even since we've talked to them, things have been moving. Like literally, land has been moving. So they have taken down the building on the corner of Washington Street and Centennial that I'm sure many people would recognize, that red brick building. It has been cleared as they're getting ready for construction in their phase 1. So they're hot into their capital campaign, raising money, getting ready to add this big community asset into Washington Street.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting to hear how these stories and these programs are not only changing kids' lives, but really reshaping whole neighborhoods. And
Absolutely.
it's happening.
Happening.
Right before our eyes.
It's happening. And, when I spoke with Jakki and we got to, see more of the space and what's changed, she was just really excited to invite the community to actually come out and see for themselves.
Absolutely.
We try to capture it and share it as best we can, but nothing beats getting to actually meet their staff, meet the kids, meet the people who are doing this work and benefiting from this work. And she was very adamant. On their website, you can schedule a tour. You can find out ways to get involved and to volunteer. I mean, they have so many good programs going on that are ready for volunteers. So.
Yeah. And just a warning, once you go, just be ready to be convicted, because you're going to have to do something.
Right.
After you go and you see this, because you'll be so moved by what they do with kids that you're going to want to get involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. This was a great one. Thanks so much, Joe, for joining us here.
Yeah, Hannah, it's always good.
Thank you to D-Up for being part of this episode, and thank you to all of our listeners, and thank you as always to our technical team at Captivate Media for making this whole show happen. Tune in next time for another great episode of High Points Voices Discovered.
Thanks, y'all.